on this beautiful summer's day, Sarah. Did you notice the pause then? Talk to me
I'll
about your.
practice pausing and tell
Yeah,
me if I look silly.
uh, it doesn't matter whether you look silly or not, to be honest. It's about authenticity. Um, I was curious to know about your shift between helping people to write books, which you still do, and then the creativity side. So you're moving over now towards helping people to release their creativity, which I think is wonderful. Um, but you've gone from almost being, can I say academic? So from an academic basis to more of an intuitive basis. How does that feel? How does it work?
What it actually is a creative return to where I began Right Wild. So I have developed Right Wild as a means of connecting to our creativity. And then I followed the road that was in front of me, and I moved into away from that a bit into more of a kind of let's finish your book, working with writers who had started a book or had an idea for a book for years and had never written it. And so I've been helping them write their book from start to finish with all the right world philosophy as the foundations for that. And now it was beginning to feel that what I was doing didn't feel aligned with who I am and why I got right wild into the world. So I've had a sort of return shift back to connection and back to creativity and nature and how nature can help us develop our creativity in order to write books. So yeah, a creative
How
return.
how do we find that creativity? I know about my personal journey, and releasing my creativity has not been an easy process. And wait, when you have that you've got the two sides, you've got the academic and justifying everything and being logical, and then you're moving into the what I call the 3D Technicolor. Everything just pops, when you get that. It does for me anyway. You have that creativity, and everything just becomes so colourful and so expressive.
Yeah, because we're using our imagination.
Mm,
We are stepping out of our logical selves
mm.
and walking fully or stepping fully into our imagination. So when we're writing creatively, we are absorbing the imaginative world that we're creating. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So in academic writing, there isn't a lot of room to write creatively, but there's a lot of room to research creatively.
Oh, okay.
And then you bring that creativity into the academic way style of writing. So it's just a different style of writing.
Mm.
For example, I wrote an academic essay a couple of years ago for a really academic book. And I had to adopt the academic style. I had to have what's called what's called even, the style of an academic essay. And when I first started doing it, I thought, oh my God, I have to go back to how I used to write when I was at
Mm.
university, when I was
Mm.
studying, when I was working in uni. But actually I didn't, and I found it was wonderful. I allowed myself to the freedom of using my imagination during the research process.
Mm.
And I loved that part. And then it is just about sort of sticking like poetry where there are certain guidelines for certain types of poetry.
Mhm.
Academic writing's the same. There are guidelines And just like genre fiction, there are guidelines that we have to follow, and in memoir writing, in non-fiction, every way of writing has its own style and its own um, reader expectations. So
Mm.
we're kind of not boxed in by these, but we can use them imaginatively. But creativity is about the imagination, and we don't naturally call on our imagination as adults
No,
like we
it's a
did
muscle,
when we
isn't
were
it?
children. Yeah, when we were
Mm.
children, it was automatic, it was natural. We were always in our imagination. Everything was amazing, like you just said. Everything popped, and
Mm.
a stone wasn't just a stone; it was a dragon, or a tree wasn't just a tree; it was a monster, or it was a beautiful fairy house.
Mm.
But now people see a tree and think it's just trees. But
Mm.
trees
Mm.
are full of um, ways of using our imagination. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different way of opening up our and giving ourselves the freedom to use our imagination.
Okay. And creativity is quite a large, for me, it's quite a large subject because yes, it can be writing an academic book, it can be writing a fiction, it could be poetry, it could be journaling. How would you pinpoint a, and it's also personal development
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's encouraging that part of you to be free that maybe you've just put a lid on it and kept yourself small, whereas when you're writing you can release that part of you. How does that work in your world? How does creativity work in your world?
Creativity is everywhere. We use it for everything. We can be creative with song, we can be creative
Mm,
with music,
mm,
we can be creative with art, drawing, all sorts of ways of using our imagination in order to create something. And that's the essence of it. We are creating something from nothing.
mm,
And we are bringing ourselves, something, a part of ourselves into that creation. And when we're doing that, then I mean, just imagine that feeling when you look at what you've created and what you've achieved. So you're holding a book in your hands like this, and knowing that you've created that from scratch.
mm,
Or you're looking at a painting that you've just painted and taken 10 hours over, and you've painted it from scratch, and you know that someone might come along and have a whole different opinion of what that painting is, or
mm,
what this book is.
mm,
So creativity is about creating something that lives within you, but then you give it out to the world and you no longer have control over it.
mm. Yeah. Um, we've had conversations over the probably years now about what's that phrase you use? It's something about having the book within, but it's almost as though the book has its own identity and it's almost separate from you, which I find interesting. So, does everybody has a book have a book in them?
Everybody has the potential to write a book. So the stats usually tell us that everybody, 99% of the population want to write a book. I don't know if that's true. I maybe go with 78, but they say that 98% of the population wants to write a book, or think they can write a book. And then 2% begin writing a book. And then only 1% actually publish or finish and publish the book.
Mm,
So although it seems like there's millions of books out there, there could be a lot more because people give up. People
oh, okay.
start books. Most books are started and never finished
Mm,
because it's not easy to write a whole book.
mm,
There's a lot involved in writing a whole
yeah,
book. And you can't
absolutely.
just write a book and have it published just like that. Even with self-publishing now, it's not just as easy as that. There's a lot involved in writing a book. And I mean, you're supposed to say you could get AI to write it for you and then just stick it up on Amazon, but that's not going to be a good book. Nobody's going to want to read it, and
I
nobody's
was
going to
going to
think
ask you about that.
you're a good reader for doing that. Especially the writing population are not going to elect you for having done something like that. However, not that I'm against AI, because I am absolutely not against AI. However, writing a book isn't easy. There are ways and means of going about it. But also, writing a book is a transformative experience. It's not
Mm,
just about writing a book, it's about being this person when you start writing the book, and then you're this person when you finish. And then
mm,
you have this thing like having a baby, you've just given birth to this book that's taken you a whole year to write. And then you have to hand it over to the world of publishing and the world of readers. And
mm,
that's a whole other aspect of
mm,
creativity that needs some careful consideration.
mm. Yes, the thorny subject of AI. I can understand how I can understand the appeal of putting some sort of content and asking it to create a book, but it's not you. And that's the whole point, isn't it? It's not just creating content for the sake of it. It's sharing the book that's inside of you, and it's a part of you, and it's your words, your creativity. It may be your life or your fiction if you're writing that. So, Sarah, when we talk about the difference between writing a book and creativity, they feel quite different to me. But do you have a um, who's your ideal client, I guess? Who's your ideal client?
My so the writers I tend to work with are people who are committed to finishing the book they've started, and people
So,
who really
so
want
you
to be
don't
the
help
end
people to
person.
start.
Yeah, yeah, I help people to start. People come to me with ideas, and I work with them to establish that idea, to bring it into a structure, to uncover what they're really trying to say so that they write this book and it's a meaningful book for them. So I work from beginning to end with them, but that's the point that writing, when you sit down to write a book, if you only get halfway through, then it feels like you've failed, you
I
know,
can understand that, yes.
which isn't necessarily true. So I've got a dozen half written novels from the years of when I began writing. And they're good practice. They for me, it's like that was my apprenticeship. So you can sit down and write a book and give up on it. And some not all books deserve to be written. Not all books are good ideas. But I don't my ideal client is someone who's committed to giving the book the best that they can give it. Who
Mm,
really care about the writing, really care about what they're saying and why they're saying it.
mm. So it's almost as though you're helping people to release the words. When I was counselling professionally, I used to say, if you feel as though you want to talk to somebody, you don't know who to talk to or what to talk about, you need a counsellor. But the same could actually apply to you, couldn't it? Because not everybody wants a counsellor. It might be that they've got words in them, they don't know how to put the words together, they don't know how to formulate. They're just in this melee
Yeah.
of confusion, and so you'd be able to help them to unpick those.
Yeah, I work with a lot of writers who have journaled all their lives and suddenly decided that this journal could make a really good book.
Mm,
Whether they want to publish that or whether they keep it as a legacy for their family. So it's about bringing structure to all the little parts and experiences of their lives. And the good thing about journaling and using it as the basis of a book, whether fiction or non-fiction or memoir, is that what you tend to write when you're journaling is an experience.
mm,
And every book that we write that goes on the shelves for readers ought to be an experience of some sort. There's no point having a book, picking a book up and not getting anything from it as a reader. You want to feel what the characters are feeling. You want to be part of the world that this book is written in. So I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
I was going to ask you because I've got lots of different things going on in my head
Oh, the
about
counselling.
mm,
Yeah, well, yeah. So, all yeah, that's what I was saying. Thank you for getting me back on track. So, people come to me with all this journal work, and we work together to put it into a structure. To if it's fiction, we look for the plot, the thread that runs all the way through this book, the purpose of why we're putting all this information in between the pages of a book. And that usually dictates the kind of book, whether it's going to be fiction or non-fiction or memoir, or whether and the shape of it and the experience of it for the reader. So these are all the
mm,
important things. But when you're creating a book, but it's also making sure that the writer is getting the maximum benefit of writing a book, like going to a counsellor. When you're taking all these journal experiences, they can be quite emotional because it's
mm,
your life you're talking about and you're sharing it with me. So you come
mm,
to me with all your journal that nobody's ever seen,
mm,
and you've got to show it to me, and I help you edit it. And I question you and make you confront your own experiences. So it is a transformative process, especially memoir writing, I would say. But I worked with fiction, and people have used journal entries for fiction, and that's
mm,
a lot of fun. And it also makes a great impact. I really am keen on using fiction to make an impact on the world and how we live in the world and how we navigate everyday experiences.
mm,
Um, but yeah, fiction, non-fiction, narrative non-fiction, memoir writing, any kind of journal is great to form the basis of a book, and it's a very therapeutic process to go through it. Even though I'm not a counsellor or a psychologist, we work in a very careful way through that
mm,
process.
mm. Oh, that's fabulous. So, is there anything else that I've missed that you would like to add?
I don't know. I just talked a minute ago about impact, and I'm very keen to work with writers who want to use their book to make an impact on the world, on the environment, and how we navigate the earth, how we navigate through nature, how we approach nature. What a fiction book, using fiction to explore what nature means for us as human beings.
Mm,
Because it's not just a pretty place for us to go at the weekend.
mm,
It's a place that lives within us and we live within nature. So I want to work with writers who want to write fiction to make some kind of impact on the world or how we navigate the world or the environment and the environment. And there's a
mm,
few books already out there, but people don't necessarily connect fiction with sustainability or climate change. And that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how we live as human beings, because I think that has to change.
mm,
How we connect to the earth,
mm,
how we connect to how we use the earth, because we shouldn't be using it. We should be connecting to it and working with
mm.
it in a reciprocal relationship. So we benefit from nature and nature benefits from human beings.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, any
that's a
writer
big subject.
that wants to explore the joy of using fiction for that purpose, then come
Mm,
speak to me, because I cannot wait to get this project off the ground. I am so excited to be someone working with a group of writers who are working to that end.
mm. Oh,
Can
and that
you
was the other thing.
imagine?
Yeah, that was the other thing, Sarah. Do you work with groups or individuals or
I'm
whatever they need?
currently running two workshop groups just now, and that is about finishing your book. It's called the Finish Your Book Workshops. So yes, I do work with groups.
Okay.
And this project, this Right World for Impact project will be a very, very small group of people. As a
Exclusive.
founding groups, exclusive. Yeah, it will be an invitation only because I need to. I want to just work with 3 or 4 people who will all fit together
Mm.
and start and be the founding members of Right Wild for Impact, and help it grow to become something that does make an impact in the world.
Sounds exciting and interesting. So I'm definitely interested in
And
that.
I am super excited about it.
So is your website up and running, and what's the address?
My website is up and running. It's a bit out of date. So if you want update information, come to me. But my website is Right Wild Books. And my email address is Sarah at Right Wild Coaching. And that's the best place to come and speak to me if you're interested in any of my projects, particularly the Right Wild for Impact, because I'm looking for those 4 special writers right now. And I'm about to send out invitations for that.
Fabulous. Sounds exciting.
You have no idea. I just want to jump up and down about this because I'm writing my own book in this project,
Okay.
and I want to write alongside 3 or 4 other really special people who have something to say
Mm,
that needs to be said.
mm. Fabulous. Thank you, Sarah. We
You're
shall
very
speak again
welcome.
soon.
I know it's been fun. It's been such fun, Karen. I